Hi everybody, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be making one of the most popular variations on the Negroni, known as the Boulevardier. So we're going to make the Boulevardier, we're going to talk about why the Negroni and the Boulevardier are so successful from a structural standpoint, and then stay tuned to the very end because we're going to be using that same exact structure. We're going to be twisting it and adding some other ingredients in to see what kind of cocktails and drinks we can make with that. Hi everyone, I'm Chris from A Bar Above. I'm a 15-year veteran of the bar and somebody that loves making fun and creative cocktails. So we're going to make the Boulevardier here in a moment, but before we do, let's quickly talk about why the structure of these spirit-forward cocktails actually does work. Now, in order to do that, we're going to make this as easy as possible, and we're going to use the old-fashioned as kind of our starting point. So with the old-fashioned, what we have is a base spirit, whiskey. We also have a sweetener, simple syrup, and we have a bitter component, usually in the form of Angostura or a combination of bitters. Now, when we put all of these ingredients together, the base spirit is going to give us the alcohol. It's also going to give us that flavor we're looking for in the old-fashioned, but then we're creating contrast by balancing the bitter and the sweet together. And when we have that contrast, it creates depth of flavor. Now, when we think about the Boulevardier and the Negroni, we have the same exact dynamics happening here as well. So the ingredients that we're typically going to be reaching for when it comes to making these cocktails is a base spirit, gin, or bourbon or whiskey of some form, and a Mari, which is both bitter and sweet at the same time, combining that element together in the form of Campari, but any Amari will do. And also that bittersweet is happening in the sweet vermouth, which is a fortified and aromatized wine. And once we identify the category of ingredients that we're working with, we can easily substitute anything from that category to replace it. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing a little bit later. But for now, let's go ahead and make a Boulevardier. To make our Boulevardier, we're going to go ahead and pour all of our ingredients into our mixing glass here. So our base spirit, in this case, is going to be our whiskey, our Amari, which is our Campari, and our aromatized fortified wine, the sweet vermouth in this case. And now we're just going to go ahead and stir this and put it in our final serving glass. And now our garnish is just going to be a simple twist of orange. And there we have it, the Boulevardier. Now let's go ahead and taste our Boulevardier. Cheers, guys. That is a big, powerful, really deep and flavored cocktail. And the really cool thing to kind of focus on is that tension between the bitter and the sweet that creates that depth of flavor and the balance that really works in this style of cocktail. Now, as we taste this and we go forward and start to modify it, it's really important to kind of create that really clear picture of the identity of this particular drink, because we're going to be referencing that a little bit later when we change out some of these ingredients. As we mentioned earlier, the Boulevardier itself is a variation on a much more popular cocktail known as the Negroni. But once you identify kind of the framework of the Negroni, you can do some really fun stuff with some simple substitution. So for example, you take out the gin and you replace it with mezcal, you have a really delicious cocktail known as the mezcalroni. You can also do that across multiple ingredients. So for example, rye instead of gin, dry vermouth instead of sweet, and still sticking to the Campari, and you have the old pal. Now, this is where things can get really fun. When you take out the base spirit and replace it with something delicious and sparkling and effervescent, you get the viral cocktail of 2022, the Negroni Spagliato. So we know that the framework of the spirit-forward cocktail really does work. But now I want to kind of put it through its paces and add some really powerful ingredients to see if it can still stand up. So why don't we make another delicious, fun cocktail? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put this off to the side and make a very, very interesting cocktail. So we're gonna be using raicilla, which is a very powerful kind of mezcal style beverage, very big, very smoky and meaty. So that's gonna go in our mixing glass, and that'll be our base spirit. On the Amari side, we're actually going to be doing a split base substitution of this product here, Americano, as well as some Branca Menta. And we're going to keep things a little bit simple on the fortified aromatized wine and just stick to the same sweet vermouth. Now, once again, we are just following that same exact formulation. So let's go ahead and stir this thing down and give it a taste. And since I'm going to go ahead and serve this up in a glass like this, I'm going to go ahead and stir this cocktail just a little bit longer. I want to get that dilution just perfect and the temperature perfect, because it's not going to change once it goes into the glass, unlike when you put it on a rock. And we're going to keep things consistent with the garnish and just do an orange peel. All right, there we have it. Let's give it a try, shall we? That is crazy. That is powerful. You get that big, intense flavor from the raicilla, a little bit of smokiness and that meatiness. The menta kind of comes in there. The caramel notes from the Amari we chose are perfect. I wouldn't say this is the best variation of the Negroni possible or the Boulevardier, but it's pretty good. It definitely kind of hits the same way. It's fun. There we have it. We have made the Boulevardier. We have talked about why the structure of the Boulevardier is so successful, and that is because it is so easily adaptable. And we've also kind of put the whole framework under the torture chest of some really powerful ingredients with this particular cocktail. And I'm not gonna lie, every time I drink it, it gets better and better and better. It's definitely growing on me. So if you like this video, you know exactly what we're gonna ask. Hit the like, subscribe, and the bell icon, and you will get notified anytime we release cocktail videos similar to this. Until then, I hope you are enjoying your favorite version of a spirit-forward cocktail. Cheers.